Moving on to episode 4, Mazey Day. This stars Zazie Beetz, which I know from Deadpool 2, as well as Joker.
Uh-huh.
She's the love interest in Joker.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So, honestly, I only have like a couple things to say about this episode.
Me too.
Overall, it's fine. Obviously, we're talking about spoilers here, so warning. The only real interesting thing about this episode is that Mazey Day is a werewolf.
Yes.
Right? Like, she hits someone with her car while she's on drugs. She gets out of the car, checks, it's a werewolf. She gets changed. She comes home, you think that this is like very classic werewolf stuff here with like trying to make it look like she's, going through withdrawal or something like that. Like this, werewolves have definitely been likened to drug addicts.
Yeah.
So there's nothing new there. The only real thing I have to say about this episode, honestly, is something that, like, I already thought, and this reinforces it, that I loathe paparazzi.
Oh, sure, yeah. That was like yeah. The paparazzi in this are so awful, and that's definitely like the message, right? Is like, it doesn't matter if somebody's literally turning into a werewolf.
Sure.
Like, you're still gonna get the picture to make the money, and it's disgusting. It's really disgusting.
Yeah, honestly, there's certain businesses that are like legal, that you are like, yeah, but is it morally okay?
Yeah.
Right? Like, and yeah, I don't know. Should it be? Isn't it an invasion of privacy?
I think
to have some, especially like, when people are taking pictures of like Britney Spears' pussy.
Oh my God, I
right?
know.
As she's like getting out of a limo or something. It's like, what? That was Britney.
Yeah.
Right?
But in their minds too, it's like, well, you're a celebrity, you're a public, like, you've already put yourself out there as this famous person or whatever. So like, you're public property basically. And I think that's total nonsense, of course, because even somebody who's famous and a celebrity, like, they gotta have their privacy. And we're not privileged to know everything about their lives just because we like their movies or their music or whatever.
I just don't give a shit.
And I mean, yeah, truthfully, I don't care either. I've never read tabloid magazines.
No.
I've never really read any magazines like that, and I just, like, don't care, like, at all. I have zero interest.
And don't get me wrong. I mean, I definitely think there are some celebrities that yearn for the attention.
Oh, sure.
And, are definitely being more ridiculous out in public for the attention and wear ridiculous outfits or act in ridiculous ways because they're attention whores. I do think that those people exist, but like, I'm a hairdresser and I look over people's shoulders as I'm doing their hair and I see like Us Weekly and that stuff. And there's this section in there called celebrities or stars, celebrities. I think it's celebrities. They're just like us because it's in reference to the magazine title. And it's always like, it's like Jeff Goldblum at the grocery store, like buying eggs. And it's like, does anybody think that these guys like aren't human beings?
I know.
Like, I don't care what Jeff Goldblum bought at a grocery store. I don't know why anybody.
Well, I mean, there's
care.
Obsessive fans, of course, like the stalker types who, really are reading that type, those types of magazines. But I don't know. I mean, yeah, I guess when people reach a certain level of fame, like in your head, like to see them doing like mundane tasks it
knocks them down a level so that people don't feel like they're...
Exactly. I mean, that's why, the big one with female celebrities is...
They want to catch them looking ugly.
Yeah, with no makeup or like whatever. And that is like so insulting and awful because nobody looks perfect all the time. Like, people have bad hair days, people have bad every days, and
You always look good to me.
you always look good to me. But I mean, you're human. Like, you'll get pimples, you'll get wrinkles, you'll get gray hair, like, all that kind of stuff. And people, like, I think the paparazzi that go for photos like that, like the really skeezy photos, like, they're trying to, like, shatter that illusion.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, there is something to be said, too, of, like, the level of fame that some people can reach in the country, and how it's, like, should people be that famous? I mean, there's not really a way to control it, but it's, like, it's definitely a more, like, modern concept. Like, we didn't have, like, actors and actresses, like, 200 years ago, like... But there were still famous people, of course, but it's just, like, now...
No, actors and actresses just... Well,
I'm sorry.
Actresses didn't exist.
I meant, like, film actors and actresses, not, like, theater, like, stage actors.
Because women weren't even allowed to act back then.
Right, actors. Yeah, just actors.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that is, like, a modern thing. But this episode, I mean, yeah, it's, like... She is clearly just, like, unwell throughout it, and... The fact that she, like, the other girl is trying so hard. I mean, she's set up to be a pretty bad person in general. I thought that they were going to do some, like, redemption with her, but in the end, she's literally taking a photo of
her killing herself.
Her killing herself, which is just like, what? Like, how could you even sell that to anybody? Like, that's police evidence. Like, you can't just, like, sell a picture of somebody killing themselves.
Sure, I mean, if you had, like, a picture of Kurt Cobain putting a shotgun in his mouth or something, like, right before or even, like, while he was pulling the trigger.
Yeah.
There's definitely people out there that would want to see it. I don't know, man. I know that certain people believe that, like, that these famous people are, like, asking for it, and it's like, oh, they're fucking famous, and, like, they actually, like, operate under this idea that they, like, deserve it.
Sure. Right. Like, you're so rich and famous. Yeah, like there's, like, a jealousy factor. Yeah. It's
of course.
Total nonsense.
I just couldn't care less. And I find paparazzi to be scumbags.
Yes.
I always have. And no one's changing my mind on it.
No.
I've thought about this a lot. I've seen too many tabloid magazines. I think that, like, TMZ show on TV is, like, one of the most disgusting shows that's ever existed. They literally just exist to shame people and point out everyone's, like, flaws and their bad moments, and, like, really try to shine a spotlight on. It's like this. It's this idea of beating people down to make yourself feel better. It's like, oh, well, these people have a bad day too. They're not perfect.
Right.
You see them on TV, and you see them in the magazines, and they're, like, flawless. And this shows that they have flaws. It's like, I don't need to see that to know that my favorite celebrities have flaws.
Right.
I'm sure Ryan Gosling has a bad day.
Yeah.
I'm sure he doesn't always look like he looks. Like, I don't need to see that.
Yeah.
I'm sure Anya Taylor-Joy has, like, without makeup and her hair not done and everything, she probably doesn't look as good as she does, or what. I don't care.
Right.
Like, I know that.
Yeah.
I know that exists. I know that that's how people are, because they're people, because they're humans, and I'm not an idiot. And I don't need someone trying to sneak a picture through their window of them, like, slipping a nip, or, like, getting out of a car and, like, their pants rip or something, and you're, like, getting, like, a picture of their ass cheek as, like, they're bending over to try to, like, cover themselves, or, like, it's just skeezy.
Yes.
And I'm honestly surprised in our modern day that people are still okay with it because of how reactive they are to everything else. So, I don't know. Anyways, that's just really my main takeaway from this episode. It's more of just, like, me up on a soapbox, which no one wants to hear. I just don't really have a ton to say about the episode in general. It's just kind of a real straightforward werewolf picture. I mean, I guess the only thing we can really else discuss here is how the werewolf looks, the transformation scene. Like, that's, like, the more important scenes when it comes to a werewolf movie. Everyone always wants to talk about that, right? Because of American Werewolf in London and The Howling. It's always about the transformation and the look of the werewolf. Yeah, I mean, there's some CGI used here. It doesn't hold a candle to any of like, you know, the aforementioned 2 films I just said. The werewolf itself, it's fine.
Yeah.
It's not my style,
Yeah.
right? I like the biped.
Biped ones, me too. Yeah. I want them to look like a wolfman hybrid.
I'm not a dog werewolf kind of guy.
Right. Yeah, I'm the same.
4-legged on down like this, not my deal. Dog soldiers, Bad Moon. Like, look at those as examples for what I like, what I think a werewolf should look like. It should be half human.
Yes.
Right? So
half
it's standing
wolf.
upright. Now it can haunch down, right? It can get down like a wolf if it wants to.
Yeah.
But it should primarily be walking on 2 legs and be standing upright and be like 7 feet tall.
Yes. That's terrifying. Yeah. I was like, on the way the werewolf looked in this, and overall, I think, I mean, this is a fine episode. Like, but it is the lowest of the season for me, for sure.
Yeah.
But it's not horrible. Like, you know, like, it just wasn't as great as some of the others in this season, or just in the show in general. But,
it doesn't feel like Black Mirror for sure to me. Just very standard werewolf fare. Yeah. And I guess, you know, the technology in this is the camera.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
And how people exploit celebrities through technology.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I thought maybe there'd be something cool to that, like her pictures were able to catch her real form.
Oh, sure.
Right?
Yeah.
That she was going to start taking pictures of her and then look at the camera and see like she was either not there because she was a vampire, or like her real true self where she's like 1,000 years old and her body's like all like decayed and fucked up, and it's like, what? You got to see these pictures and no one will believe her because it's like, you know, what are these? Like, you can't prove that's actually her. And so she's like trying to figure out a way to prove that it's actually her. Like, stuff really like cool. That would have been way more interesting to me because it is technology, right? And the fact that like vampires never had to deal, or werewolves or any of that stuff, like never had to deal with like modern technology, right? And being, you know, if you saw them in a mirror, fine, but like a picture, that's more of a modern thing, right? I know we used to have like long exposure type photos, but you're not going to catch someone in that unless they're standing still for you. Like, if we have like the quick shutter pictures like we have more in modern times, that's something they've only had to deal with for like less than 100 years. Yeah. So I think that would have been pretty interesting to even take it back to when like that, like certain technology came to be that started to affect how like a vampire had to exist, or a werewolf, or whoever, right? Like, to me that would have been really cool to see like monsters dealing with modern technology and being like, oh man, now we got to deal with this shit. Right. Yeah, I agree. So that would have been cool. I don't know, this was just kind of not all that interesting. Yeah. So, anything more? No. Yeah, I'm done with this one. It's okay. But that's about it. Fine. All right, moving on. Bye.